New York City, October 1964. 2:47 p.m. Central Park was beautiful. Autumn. The kind of golden afternoon where leaves fall like confetti and the air smells like change and possibility in the end of something beautiful. An elderly couple stood near a bench, late 70s, maybe early 80s, the kind of age where every movement is deliberate, where walking requires concentration, where simply being upright is an achievement. The man wore a gray coat, worn but clean, the kind you keep for 40 years because it was expensive once, and throwing it away feels like betraying the person who bought it. A hat, tilted at an angle that suggested he'd been handsome once, still was, in the right light. The woman wore a dark coat, simple, elegant in the way that has nothing to do with fashion and everything to do with dignity. White hair, perfectly neat, the kind of neat that takes effort at that age, that requires caring about how you look even when the world has stopped looking. They were humming, quietly, a song from their youth, from the 1930s, big band era, the kind of music that reminded them of who they'd been when they were young, when everything was ahead of them instead of behind them. The man took the woman's hand, bowed slightly. "May I have this dance?" She smiled, the kind of smile that comes from 70 years of loving someone. "There's no music, Harold." "There's always music, Eleanor. You just have to remember it." 4 young men walked past, British, carrying instrument cases, coming from a photo shoot, tired, ready to get back to the hotel, ready to escape the crowds, the fame, the constant performance. One of them stopped, Paul McCartney, watching the elderly couple, watching Harold take Eleanor's hand, watching them begin to dance, slowly, carefully, to music only they could hear, to memories, to decades of loving each other. Paul turned to the others, gestured. "Look." John, George, and Ringo stopped, watched, saw what Paul saw. Not just an elderly couple dancing, a love story, a lifetime, a reminder of what mattered, what lasted, what survived when fame and youth and everything else faded. And what happened in the next 30 minutes didn't just give Harold and Eleanor a memory. It reminded the Beatles why music existed, why love mattered, why growing old with someone was the greatest success, greater than fame, greater than anything. But to understand why the Beatles stopped everything for an elderly couple dancing to music that didn't exist, you need to understand who Harold and Eleanor were, and why this moment mattered more than anyone realized. Harold Schneider met Eleanor Walsh in 1917. He was 16. She was 15. World War I was raging. The world was ending, and they found each other at a church social in Brooklyn. He asked her to dance. She said yes, and that was it. 70 years of yes. They married in 1920. Harold worked at a factory. Eleanor raised their children. 3 daughters, all grown now, all living in different cities, too busy to visit, too caught up in their own lives to remember that their parents were still people, still in love, still dancing to music nobody else could hear. By 1964, Harold and Eleanor were alone. Not lonely, alone. There's a difference. Their daughters called on birthdays, on holidays, dutiful but distant. The grandchildren sent cards, sometimes, when they remembered. But mostly Harold and Eleanor had each other, and that had always been enough. Every Sunday they came to Central Park. Their tradition, started in 1925, continued through the Depression, through World War II, through Korea, through Vietnam, through everything. Every Sunday, Central Park, dancing, to whatever music they remembered, whatever songs reminded them they were still alive, still together, still in love. That October afternoon, they were humming Glenn Miller, Moonlight Serenade, the song playing when Harold proposed, when Eleanor said yes, when they promised forever and meant it in ways young people never understand until they're old. Harold was tired, 82 years old. His heart wasn't good. The doctor had said months, maybe a year. He hadn't told Eleanor, didn't want to ruin what time remained, wanted her to keep dancing, keep smiling, keep believing they had forever, even though forever was ending. Eleanor knew anyway. You don't love someone for 70 years without knowing, without feeling it. She felt Harold fading, getting weaker, moving slower, holding her tighter, like he was afraid to let go, afraid that letting go meant goodbye. So they danced, every Sunday, slowly, carefully, savoring every moment, every step, every breath, every second of still being together, still being alive, still being in love. The four young men approached. The short one, Paul, spoke first. "Excuse me, I hope we're not interrupting, but I have to know, what song are you dancing to?" Harold smiled. "Moonlight Serenade, Glenn Miller, 1939. The song I proposed to my Eleanor with. We've been dancing to it for 45 years. "Would you mind," George asked, "if we played it for you? Properly, so you're not just dancing to memory, but to real music." Eleanor looked at these four young men, British, well-dressed, kind faces. "You don't have to do that, dear. We're fine with our memories." "We know," Paul said, "but we want to. Please, let us give you this." The Beatles set up right there, in Central Park, 2 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. Paul on guitar, George on bass, John on rhythm, Ringo on a borrowed drum kit someone brought from a nearby street performer. They started playing Moonlight Serenade. Not the rock and roll version, the real version, the 1939 version. Slow, romantic, perfect. The way Harold and Eleanor remembered it. The way it sounded when they were young, when the world was different, when forever felt infinite. Harold took Eleanor's hand, properly this time. Not the careful shuffle of old people dancing to silence. Real dancing, the kind they used to do, when they were young, when Harold was strong and Eleanor was beautiful, and nothing had worn them down yet. They danced. And as they danced, something happened. People stopped, dozens of them, then hundreds, recognizing the Beatles, understanding they were witnessing something rare. Not a concert, a gift. 4 famous musicians playing for 2 people nobody knew. For love, for permanence, for the reminder that this is what matters. Paul sang as he played, not the original lyrics, new lyrics, made up on the spot, about Harold and Eleanor, about 70 years, about dancing every Sunday, about love that survives everything, about growing old together being the greatest achievement, better than fame, better than success, better than anything young people chase. When the song ended, Central Park was silent. 500 people, completely quiet, not wanting to break the moment, not wanting to interrupt what they'd witnessed. 2 old people dancing, the Beatles playing for them. Love made visible, made real, made sacred. Harold was crying. Eleanor was crying. Not sad tears, grateful tears. The kind that come from being seen, from mattering, from young people understanding that old love is more beautiful than young love, because it survived, because it lasted, because it proved that promises can be kept. Paul approached them. "Harold, Eleanor, can I ask you something? What's the secret? 70 years. Most marriages don't last 7. How did you do it?" Harold looked at Eleanor. She looked back. That look. The one that says everything without words. The one that comes from knowing someone completely. From loving them anyway. From choosing them every day for 70 years. "There's no secret," Harold said. "You just keep choosing, every day. When it's easy, when it's hard, when you're angry, when you're tired, when the world tells you to quit, you keep choosing each other. And eventually, choosing becomes automatic, becomes who you are. You're not 2 people anymore. You're one person, living 2 lives. And that's everything." Eleanor added, "And you dance, even when there's no music, especially when there's no music, because dancing is remembering. Remembering who you were, who you are, who you'll always be together. We dance every Sunday for 45 years, and we'll dance every Sunday until we can't, and then we'll remember dancing, and that will be enough." John was quiet, rare for him, but this moment demanded quiet, demanded respect, demanded understanding that they were in the presence of something they didn't have yet, something they wanted, something that lasted. "Do you have children?" Ringo asked. 3 daughters, Harold said. 7 grandchildren. They're busy, living their lives. We don't see them much, but that's okay. We have each other. We've always had each other. "They should see you," George said. "They should see this, what you have, what you've built. 70 years of loving each other. That's not just beautiful, that's instructive. That's proof that love can last, that promises matter, that growing old together is the goal, not staying young, growing old together. Paul pulled out his wallet, took out a photo, him and Jane Asher, his girlfriend. Can I ask you something? How do I make this last? How do I make sure that in 70 years, we're like you, still dancing, still choosing each other, still in love? Harold looked at the photo, looked at Paul. You already know how. You stopped for us. You played for us. You saw us. That means you understand what matters. Not fame, not success. People, love, connection. As long as you remember that, you'll be fine. You'll dance. Maybe not for 70 years, maybe more, maybe less, but you'll dance. And that's what counts. The Beatles stayed another hour, talking with Harold and Eleanor, hearing stories, 70 years of stories, falling in love, getting married, raising children, surviving the Depression, surviving wars, surviving loss, surviving everything by choosing each other. Before they left, Paul asked one more question. Can we take a photo with you so we remember, so when we're tempted to quit, to give up, to think love doesn't last, we can look at this photo and remember Harold and Eleanor, who proved it does, who proved promises can be kept. They took the photo, the Beatles, Harold, Eleanor, all 6 of them, smiling. Paul kept that photo in his wallet for decades, looked at it when his marriage to Jane ended, when his marriage to Linda started, when Linda died, looked at it and remembered that love is choice, that it requires work, that it's worth it. Harold died in February 1965, 4 months after that day in Central Park. Eleanor found him in his sleep, peaceful, a smile on his face, like he'd been dreaming of dancing. At the funeral, Eleanor told the story about the Beatles, about them playing Moonlight Serenade, about Paul asking for their secret, about the photo, about the day her Harold got to dance, really dance, one last time, with music, with beauty, with the understanding that their love mattered, that 70 years of choosing each other had been worth it. Harold died happy, Eleanor said, because 4 young men stopped, because they saw us, because they understood that what we had was rare, was beautiful, was worth honoring. The Beatles gave him that, gave us that, and I'll be grateful until I join him. Eleanor died 6 months later, August 1965. The doctors said her heart just stopped, but her daughters knew better. Eleanor had stopped choosing to live because Harold was gone, and choosing him had been her life. Without him, there was nothing to choose, nothing to dance to, nothing to live for. At her funeral, they played Moonlight Serenade, the version the Beatles had played. Someone had recorded it. That October afternoon, 500 people listening, the Beatles playing for 2 old people dancing. And when that recording played at Eleanor's funeral, every person who'd been there that day remembered that love was real, that promises mattered, that growing old together was the ultimate success. Paul sent flowers. All 4 Beatles did. White roses. Eleanor's favorite. With a note, "Thank you for showing us what matters. Thank you for dancing. Thank you for loving each other so completely that it made the rest of us believe. You'll dance together forever now, and we'll remember, always." Years later, in an interview, Paul was asked about that day. "Do you remember Harold and Eleanor?" "Every detail," Paul said, "because they taught me something I didn't know I needed to learn. That success is temporary, fame is temporary, youth is temporary, but love? Love can be permanent. If you choose it, every day, for 70 years. They chose each other every Sunday, dancing to memory, and we got to give them music, got to honor them, got to witness what real love looks like. And I've never forgotten, never will." October 1964. The Beatles were walking through Central Park, tired, famous, ready to leave, and they saw an elderly couple dancing to music that didn't exist, and they stopped, set up instruments, played Moonlight Serenade, made 500 people stop and watch, made Harold and Eleanor feel seen, feel honored, feel like their 70 years of love mattered. If you're over 60, this story is for you. If you've been married for decades, if you've chosen someone every day, if you've danced when there was no music, If you've loved through everything, you're Harold and Eleanor, and what you have is rare, is beautiful, is worth more than fame or success or anything young people chase. Keep choosing, keep dancing, keep loving, because that's what lasts, that's what matters. That's what the Beatles understood when they saw two old people dancing in Central Park. And that's everything. Look, if this story moved you, especially if you're over 50, over 60, if you've been married for decades, do me a favor, hit that like button. Share this with your partner. Remind them why you keep choosing them, why you keep dancing, why 70 years is the goal. We've got 76 Beatles stories now, stories about love, about respect, about understanding that the greatest success is growing old with someone, is choosing them every day for a lifetime. Drop a comment and let me know, how long have you been married? Do you still dance? Do you remember your song? Turn those notifications on because these stories honor you. Honor your love. Honor your choice to keep choosing. Remember, love is choice, made every day for a lifetime. And Harold and Eleanor proved that in Central Park, when the Beatles stopped to honor them and played their song.